بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. Last week we spoke about how the Ayyubid ruler Najmuddin Ayyub reunified the Ayyubid kingdom by defeating his family members Salih Ismail and Nasir Dawood in an internal Ayyubid war. So the Ayyubid kingdom, it was broken up into different parts. So Najmuddin Ayyub had control of Egypt, but his relatives also from the Ayyubi family, they had control of Sham and parts of Palestine. So there was an internal battle within this family, and in the end Najmuddin Ayyub came out victorious. So with this victory, he was able to reunify the Ayyubid lands. So he took back control and he consolidated rule over Egypt and Sham and also Jerusalem. So he basically reunified the Ayyubid kingdom under his rule. And this was in the year 1244 of the Gregorian calendar. Alright, a few years later, in the year 1248, the king of France, Louis IX, and he was known as Saint Louis, right? He was called a saint by the Catholic Church because of his religiosity. He was a person who was known to be a very practicing Catholic. So he was given sainthood, quote unquote, by the Catholic Church. So he was known as Saint Louis, the king of France, Louis IX. So in the year 1248, under the instruction of the Catholic Pope, Louis IX headed towards Egypt with a large army, and his intention was to take over Egypt, and then after taking over Egypt, to head towards Palestine and take Jerusalem. That was his plan. And this was under the instruction of the Pope. So basically it's a new attempt at a crusade to take Jerusalem back again from the Muslims. So he wanted to start in Egypt first. He thought that Egypt is the key. If we can neutralize Egypt, he thought then they could move forward to Palestine and eventually take over Jerusalem. But if they don't take Egypt and they head straight towards Jerusalem, then they will have resistance from the Egyptian army. The Egyptian army will come after them. So he thought, let's neutralize Egypt first. If we can take control of Egypt, then we can go to Palestine and take Jerusalem without any resistance. So this was the plan. This was in the year 1248 of the Gregorian calendar. So the army of Louis IX from France, they reached Dimyat in northern Egypt, and after some intense fighting, the army of Louis IX was able to occupy Dimyat. And from Dimyat, their plan was then to go to Cairo. Cairo was the capital of Egypt. And that was the seat of power where Najmuddin had his throne, right? So if Louis IX and his army were able to take Cairo, then basically they would have defeated Najmuddin Ayyub. And then the path to Jerusalem would be open and it would be easy for them to take over Jerusalem. So this was their plan. This was the plan. So Najmuddin, after Dimyat was taken by the Christians, Najmuddin Ayyub, fearing that they will come towards Cairo now and take power away from him, he made an offer to Louis IX. He offered him Jerusalem. He said, you can take Jerusalem, but leave Egypt alone. But Louis IX, he rejected this. He said, no, we've already taken Dimyat. Now it will be easy for us to take Cairo. We don't need you to give us Jerusalem. We can easily take Egypt, and then we can go and easily take Jerusalem. So why should we settle for only Jerusalem when we can have Egypt and we can have Jerusalem? We have the power, we have the strength to do this. So Louis rejected this offer by Najmuddin Ayyub. So in the year 1249, Louis IX headed with his army towards the city of Al-Mansura. So his plan was to eventually go to Cairo and take over Cairo, but first he had to conquer some of the cities in between Dimyat and Cairo. So Al-Mansura is a major city between Dimyat and Cairo. So he headed towards the city of Al-Mansura. So Louis IX in the year 1249 with his army heading towards Al-Mansura. So they reached nearby the city of Al-Mansura, and a great battle ensued between the French army, which was led by the King of France, Louis IX himself, and the Egyptian army, which was led by Najmuddin Ayyub, the ruler of the Ayyubid dynasty. Now, while this intense battle was going on by Mansura, it's known as Ma'rakat al-Mansura, the Battle of al-Mansura. While this battle was going on, an unexpected thing happened. Najmuddin al-Ayyubi, the ruler of the Ayyubid dynasty, he died. And he didn't die on the battlefield. He didn't die fighting. He died an unexpected but natural death in his tent. Right? So even though it was in the middle of a battle, he didn't actually die in the battle. He died a natural death in his tent. So he was not killed. Now, if you remember last week, we mentioned and we spoke a little bit about the wife of Najmuddin. You remember the wife of Najmuddin Ayyub? She was a woman named Shajarat-ud-Durr. So this woman, Shajarat-ud-Durr, she was initially a slave of Najmuddin, but he fell in love with her and he freed her and then he married her. So Shajarat-ud-Durr, this freed slave, she was the wife of Najmuddin. So when her husband died during the battle of Al-Mansura, when he died in his tent, Shajarat-ud-Durr, the wife of Najmuddin, she ordered the doctors to not announce the death of Najmuddin. Don't let anyone know that he's dead. She's a very interesting character. She's very clever, right? So she told the doctors, don't tell anyone that he is dead. I will give the orders to the army instead of him, but don't tell anyone that he's dead. So then she took control and she started managing the battle herself. Shajarat-ud-Durr, right? She's managing the battle herself. Of course, she's not fighting on the battlefield, but she's planning and she's the one who's giving the commands to the army. In the meanwhile, while all of this was happening, she also sent an urgent message to Najmuddin's son, the son of Najmuddin. He was a man named Turanshah. And he sent, or she sent, Shajarat-ud-Durr sent a message to Turanshah to immediately come to Egypt. Your father has died, you need to take over the kingdom from him. Now Turanshah was the son of Najmuddin from another mother. Shajarat-ud-Durr was not the mother of Turanshah, right? But Turanshah was the son of Najmuddin, and he was next in line for the throne. So she did send a message to him to come immediately to Egypt to take over his father's kingdom. And at this time, Shajarat-ud-Durr, when she sent this message to Turanshah was in Mosul. He was busy with some negotiations with the leader of Mosul at that time. So she sent an urgent message to him, come back to Egypt. Okay, so the battle is still going on. Najmuddin has died. The French army and Louis IX, they don't know that the commander of the Egyptian army has died, and they have no idea that the one who's now commanding the Egyptian army is Shajarat-ud-Durr. So she's commanding the Egyptian army, and she does very well in commanding the Egyptian army, right? Her strategies, using her strategies, the Egyptian army was able to inflict very heavy damage on the French army. And in the end, Shajarat-ud-Durr was able to defeat Louis IX. She was able to actually defeat the King of France, and her army killed many from that French Christian army. And in addition to all of this, she won the battle, and in addition to winning the battle, Louis IX himself, the King of France, was captured as a prisoner of war. The King of France, can you imagine this? The King of France was captured as a prisoner of war. So this was a big deal. So once he was captured, the battle was over, the Egyptian army had won, Louis IX, as a captive, as a prisoner, was taken to Shajarat-ud-Durr. And she ordered that he should be locked up in the dungeon of Al-Mansura. There was a dungeon in the city, and she ordered that Louis IX, the King of France, should be locked up in that dungeon. So he was locked up in the dungeon, and he immediately started negotiating his release. He offered Shajarat-ud-Durr a large amount of money, a large sum of money. And remember, he's the King of France. He has access to a lot of money. So he offered her a huge amount of money in order to ransom himself. Right? So she agreed to this. She agreed to this huge amount of money, but she made it a condition that he should arrange for 1/2 of that amount to be given to her before he is released. And then the second half can be given to her after the release. So he agreed to these conditions. He made arrangements for the money to be brought to Shajarat-ud-Durr. Half of the money was given to her. She released him, and then the other half was also given to her. So she secured a huge amount as a ransom for Louis IX, the King of France. So Louis IX now, his army is defeated. He gives up on Egypt and he decides to leave, and he heads towards Akka. Remember, Akka is the coastal city in Palestine on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, and that was basically the capital of the Christian lands in Palestine. Akka was the Christian capital of Palestine. So Louis IX, he left Egypt with his army and he headed towards Akka. Alright, now in the meantime, Turanshah, the son of Najmuddin Ayyub, returned to Egypt and he took over the position of his father. He became the new ruler of Egypt. Now one thing Turanshah noticed and feared was the rising power and rising influence of those who were known as al-Mamalik. The Mamalik. Who were the Mamalik? They were actually, initially they were slaves. The Mamluks, or the plural of Mamluk is Mamalik. They were actually slaves that were brought in by the Ayyubis. The Ayyubids brought in a lot of slaves and made them soldiers in their army because they needed manpower. So they brought in a lot of slaves to serve in their army. Now over the years, many of these slaves, Mamluks, many of them reached high positions, and by this time a number of them were powerful commanders in the Ayyubid military, right? So Turanshah noticed this, that these Mamluks have become very strong, and he feared that this could be a threat to his rule. He feared that these Mamluks, maybe they will stage a military coup and they will overthrow him and they will take control for themselves. So Turanshah, he decided that I need to make a plan. I need to get rid of these Mamluks. I need to kill these Mamluks and get rid of them, right? So he started making plans to do this. But of course he kept these plans secret. He didn't want the Mamluks to find out what he was planning. But one night Turanshah, he was drunk, right? He used to drink. So one night he was drunk. So while he was drunk, he had his sword with him and he was sitting in public, and there were a number of candles that were in front of him, and he had his sword and he's drunk, right? And he's taking his sword and he's cutting off the tops of these candles, right? Imagine a candle with a flame lit and this man Turanshah with his sword cutting off the tips of the candles. Right, so that's what he was doing while he was drunk. And while he was doing this, he said, this is how I'm going to kill all of those Mamalik. This is how I'm going to kill those Mamluks. And there were Mamluks who were hearing what he was saying. So because he was drunk, he spoke what was actually on his mind. And he revealed his secret. So now these Mamalik, they became aware of the plan of Turanshah. They realized that he's going to make a plan to get rid of them. So they decided, okay, we need to get rid of him first before he can get rid of us. So who did they conspire with to get rid of Turanshah? They conspired with none other than Shajarat-ud-Durr, the widow of Najmuddin Ayyub. They conspired with her and they said, we're gonna kill Turanshah, and once we kill him, then you can become the ruler. We will give you our allegiance and you will actually become the ruler of Egypt. They said this to this woman, Shajarat-ud-Durr. You're gonna become the new ruler of Egypt. Just let us kill Turanshah. So she agreed. She said, go ahead, do it. And she wanted to become the ruler of Egypt. So one of the Mamluk commanders, a man named Farus-ud-Din Aqtai, he carried out the assassination of Turanshah. So Farus-ud-Din Aqtai, one of the commanders of the Mamluks, one of the commanders of the Mamalik, he assassinated Turanshah. And Turanshah's rule, from the beginning, from when he came back to take over from his father, up to this point of his assassination, his rule lasted only 70 days. He was only the ruler for 70 days, and this is how his rule came to an end, being assassinated by this Mamluk commander. So now Shajarat-ud-Durr, this woman, she was officially announced as the new ruler of Egypt. She was officially announced as the new ruler of Egypt, and the various governors throughout Egypt, they actually gave their bay'ah to her. They gave their pledge of allegiance to her. So this is the first time in the history of Islam that a woman was appointed as the head of a Muslim state. And of course, this is something that's not permissible. The Prophet ﷺ very clearly said, لَنْ يُفْلِحَ قَوْمٌ وَلَّوْ أَمْرَهُمْ إِمْرَأَةً, that a people who appoint a woman as their leader will never be successful. Alhamdulillah, that didn't happen with us. So this is what happened, right? Alhamdulillah. So Shajarat-ud-Durr, she was given the bay'ah by the people of Egypt, and she became the first woman ruler of a Muslim state. As for the people of Sham, right? They were part of the Ayyubid kingdom as well, Sham. Egypt and Sham were supposed to be unified. But now that the people of Egypt have given their bay'ah to Shajarat-ud-Durr, the people of Sham say, no, we're not going to give our bay'ah to a woman. How can we accept a woman to be our ruler? So the people of Egypt and the people of Sham had an ikhtilaf in this issue. And the Abbasid Khalifa in Baghdad, he also got involved, right? He sent a message to the people of Egypt. And he said, if you people can't find a man to rule you, then don't worry, we'll send a man to rule you. He sent it as a form of ridicule, actually. Like, how can you people appoint a woman as your ruler? So things were very shaky for Shajarat-ud-Durr officially being the ruler of Egypt, right? She wasn't accepted universally. Yes, the people of Egypt accepted her, but the people outside of Egypt, they did not feel comfortable with her being a ruler. So she knew that it would be difficult for her to retain power. She has too many people against her. You know, she's a woman. She knew that it would be difficult for her to hold on to power. But she's very smart, so she came up with a plan. She decided to marry one of the commanders of the Mamalik. She married Izzuddin Aybak. And he was one of the commanders of the Mamalik, but she made sure that he was the weakest of those commanders, that he's not a strong commander. He's a weak person who doesn't have much influence. So she decided, okay, I'm going to pick this guy. I'm going to marry him, and he will be the figurehead ruler of Egypt, but I'm the one who's going to actually be controlling things behind the scenes. That's why she didn't want to marry a powerful person, because she knew a powerful person would take the rule for himself. But if she marries a weak person, then that person can remain as the official ruler, but she would be the one with the real power. So look at her thinking. So she announced that she wants to marry Izzuddin Aybak. Izzuddin Aybak, he accepted this, and he actually married her. So once the marriage was done, then Shajarat-ud-Durr announced that she's stepping down from her position as the ruler of Egypt, and she announced that her husband Aybak is going to be the new ruler of Egypt. So the people of Egypt then gave their bay'ah to Aybak as the official king of Egypt. But in reality, Shajarat-ud-Durr, she was still controlling things behind the scenes. So this actually signified the official end of the Ayyubid rule in Egypt. Right now, Aybak, he's from the Mamluks. He's not from the Ayyubids, right? And he became the official ruler of Egypt. So this was the official end of the Ayyubid state in Egypt, and it was the beginning of the dynasty of the Mamalik, and this was in the year 1250 of the Gregorian calendar. All right, now Aybak is officially the king of Egypt now, but Shajarat-ud-Durr, she's the one who's actually doing everything behind the scenes. So behind the scenes, Shajarat-ud-Durr, she restructured the army, she built up a huge naval force, and she did many other things as well. Now as for the people of Sham, they still refused to accept Aybak as the ruler of Egypt. Even though he was now the ruler of Egypt, Sham refused to accept him, right? So Sham, before this, during the time of Najmuddin, Sham and Egypt, they were one unified kingdom under Najmuddin. But now it's separated because Sham, the people of Sham, did not accept Shajarat-ud-Durr first. And now, even though Shajarat-ud-Durr stepped down and the new king became Aybak, he's a man now, still the people of Sham did not accept him. The people of Sham did not accept him because he was not from the Ayyubid dynasty. They said, how can we accept a Mamluk? How can we accept someone who was initially a slave? How can we accept these people as our rulers? So now there's ikhtilaf, there's division between Egypt and Sham. So the Mamluks in Egypt and the Ayyubids in Sham, they became divided. And in the meantime, Louis IX in Akka, he is trying to reorganize his army to restart the crusade again, because he still hopes that he can somehow find a path to Jerusalem and conquer Jerusalem. So while Louis IX was preparing for a new crusade to take over Jerusalem, the Mamluks in Egypt and the Ayyubids in Sham, they're disputing with each other. It didn't go to the extent of a full-out war, but it was heading in that direction, that the Mamluks and the Ayyubids, they might start fighting each other. So now the Abbasid dynasty got involved. They wanted to reconcile between the Mamluks and the Ayyubids. They said, look, this man Louis IX, he's trying to reorganize himself to start a crusade. You people, you can't be fighting with each other while a crusade is being prepared by the Christians. How can there be infighting in this type of situation? You need to reunify yourselves. The Abbasid Khalifa got involved and he tried to reconcile between the Mamluks in Egypt and the Ayyubids in Sham. So through this Abbasid negotiation, an agreement was made between the Mamluks and the Ayyubids, with the condition that the Mamluks, they have Egypt already, the Mamluks have Egypt, and the Ayyubids agreed that, okay, you Mamluks, you can also have Jerusalem and Nablus and Gaza. So in addition to Egypt, the Mamluks get Jerusalem, Nablus and Gaza, and the Ayyubids in Sham, they will retain the rest of Sham. They will retain the rest of Sham. So this is the agreement that was reached between the Mamluks and the Ayyubids. All right. So in the meantime, Louis IX, he's trying to reorganize his army. He's trying to gain more support, but he's not able to garner much support. So finally in the year 1254, Louis IX, he gave up on this idea of a new crusade and he went back to Europe. He went back to France. All right. Now, going back to Egypt. As we mentioned, the new official ruler of Egypt was Izzuddin Aybak, right? The husband of Shajarat-ud-Durr. But he was just a figurehead, as we mentioned. And the reality was Shajarat-ud-Durr was the one who was pulling all the strings. Now Aybak, he was weak, but he yearned for real power. He wanted to have real power. He wanted to be the true, actual ruler. He didn't want to just be a figurehead. So he decided, okay, I need more power. I need strength. I need support from the outside. So he tried to make an alliance with the king of Mosul, right? He thought that with support of the king of Mosul, then I will have support from the outside, and this support from the outside will help me get rid of my wife. It will help me get rid of Shajarat-ud-Durr, and then I can have the power for myself, right? So to achieve this alliance with the king of Mosul, Aybak sent a message to the king of Mosul asking for his daughter in marriage. He wanted to marry the daughter of the king of Mosul. So if he becomes the son-in-law of the king of Mosul, then of course the king of Mosul will support him. And if he has support of the king of Mosul and the army of the king of Mosul, then that can help him get rid of Shajarat-ud-Durr. So this was his plan. But Shajarat-ud-Durr came to know of this plan. She came to know of this conspiracy. Oh, Aybak, you're trying to marry someone else and you're trying to gain power and you want to overthrow me, right? She came to know about this. So in the year 1257, remember, Shajarat-ud-Durr is the one who actually has the power. So, all of the commanders, the Mamluk commanders, they answer to her. They listen to her orders. So when she came to know about what her husband Aybak was trying to do, in the year 1257, she instructed some of her men to go to Aybak, her husband, and arrest him. So they did that. They arrested him. Even though he is actually, he's the king of Egypt by name. They arrested him and they brought him to his wife. They brought him to Shajarat-ud-Durr. And what did she do? She killed him. She killed her husband. So now she became the direct ruler of Egypt again. Now she became the actual ruler of Egypt again because the figurehead is gone. But she didn't want to declare herself as the ruler of Egypt because she knew if she declares herself as the official ruler of Egypt, then those same problems that started in the past would begin again with her being a woman ruler. So she offered to a number of the commanders of the Mamluks. She offered them, okay, you can become the ruler of Egypt by name and let me continue to be in control. But they were all scared. They saw what she did to her husband. She killed her own husband. She said, no. We don't want to be involved in this. So all of these commanders of the Mamluks, they refused her request out of fear of Shajarat-ud-Durr. So then what she decided to do is she decided to declare Al-Mansur Ali, who was the son of Aybak. And he was only 10 years old. And he was the son of Aybak from another mother. Shajarat-ud-Durr was not the mother of al-Mansur Ali. But Aybak, her husband that she had just killed, he was the father of al-Mansur Ali, but from his other wife, from another wife of his, right? So this kid, Ali, al-Mansur Ali, he was only 10 years old at this time. So she thought, okay, this is perfect. He's 10 years old. He is the son of Aybak, who was the previous king. We can declare him as the king. And he's 10 years old. He's not going to be able to do anything on his own, but he will be the figurehead king, and I will continue to rule things. This was the plan of Shajarat-ud-Durr. So she announced that al-Mansur Ali is the new king of Egypt. And her plan was to continue controlling things behind the scenes. All right. So this worked for a short period of time. But then, after a short period of time, a powerful Mamluk commander, a man named Sayfuddin Qutuz. Sayfuddin Qutuz, he's a powerful naval commander of the Mamluks. He said, okay, I'll take it from here. Al-Mansur Ali, yes, he is the figurehead king of the dynasty because he's the son of Aybak, he's the son of the previous king. So he can remain in his figurehead position, but I, myself, will take control of the actual affairs of Egypt. So he announced himself to be the one who is now going to be controlling Egypt, and he rejected and he said to Shajarat-ud-Durr that, you need to leave now. You're not going to have any part in the control of Egypt anymore. He ordered Shajarat-ud-Durr to step aside. So the Mamluks, the other Mamluks, seeing the power and the strength of Sayfuddin Qutuz, they defected from Shajarat-ud-Durr to him. They said, okay, this is now a powerful man. We can stand by him. And they abandoned Shajarat-ud-Durr, so she lost all of her power now. She lost all of her support, all of her power. All of the commanders who previously supported her, now they're supporting Sayfuddin Qutuz. So Sayfuddin Qutuz now became the de facto ruler of Egypt. Shajarat-ud-Durr has lost all of her power. And Sayfuddin Qutuz ordered for the arrest of Shajarat-ud-Durr. So she was arrested. Then the mother of the young figurehead king, Ali, al-Mansur Ali, his mother was one of the wives of Aybak, right? Aybak, who had been killed by Shajarat-ud-Durr. So the mother of this child, the mother of al-Mansur Ali, she asked for permission to be in charge of the punishment of Shajarat-ud-Durr. Put her under me and I will punish her. So Sayfuddin Qutuz accepted this request. So this woman, who was the mother of al-Mansur Ali, the mother of the 10-year-old kid who is the figurehead king of Egypt, she's the mother of al-Mansur Ali. She's known as Ali because her son's name was Ali, al-Mansur Ali. So she was known as Ali, and Shajarat-ud-Durr was released to her. And then Ali gathered her servant girls, and they all started beating Shajarat-ud-Durr until they actually beat her to death. So this was the end of Shajarat-ud-Durr at the hands of Ali, the mother of the figurehead king of Egypt, al-Mansur Ali, the mother of this 10-year-old boy. So she, along with her servants, they beat Shajarat-ud-Durr to death. Then they took her body and they threw it off the balcony of the palace for everybody to see. And it remained there for a number of days. They didn't bury her for a number of days. And then after a few days, they buried her. So Ali, the mother of al-Mansur Ali, who was the one who actually killed Shajarat-ud-Durr, in order to celebrate the death of Shajarat-ud-Durr, she ordered for a sweet to be made and distributed to the people of Egypt. She ordered for a special sweet to be made, and this sweet should be distributed to the people of Egypt. Let's celebrate the death of Shajarat-ud-Durr. So Ali is the one who ordered this. And the sweet that she made, it's still a very famous sweet today. It's called Ali. Have you ever tried Ali? Have you heard of it? Ali? Yeah, that's where the name comes from Ali. She killed Shajarat-ud-Durr, and then she made this sweet as a celebration to celebrate the death of Shajarat-ud-Durr. So it's named after her, Ali, right? So now Sayfuddin Qutuz, this powerful Mamluk commander, he is the one who now had control of Egypt. All right, that was the year 1257. The next year, 1258 of the Gregorian calendar, a huge event occurred. The Mongols invaded Baghdad. They invaded Baghdad and they sacked Baghdad, the capital of the Abbasid dynasty. And that was a huge event that really reshaped the course of history in that region. And we'll talk a little bit about that next week, bi'idhnillah. We'll stop there for today, inshallah. Jazakumullah khaira wa barakallahu feekum. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi.